if you want to become successful and be able to accomplish great things in any space, then what I'm about to share with you is going to be extremely helpful. As a matter of fact, I'd even go to the extent of saying that what I'm about to share with you can, at the very least, improve your odds by 50%. You hear that? By at the very least, guaranteed, it will improve your odds by at least 50% that you'll actually become successful. Do I have your full attention? Do I? What we're talking about today is becoming successful. And the key thing that I want you to keep in mind is that you have to become and you have to be discoverable. Let's talk about it. Welcome to another episode of Career Strategies, where I'm going to teach you strategies for kicking ass and taking names when it comes to advancing your career. My name is Rodney Hughes, Mr. 100%. Today's episode is being brought to you by Interview Prep University. If you need help preparing for an upcoming telephone, video, or face-to-face interview, and you want to learn some ideas that can help you avoid making the deadly mistakes that cause most candidates to be kicked out of the interview process, then you got to take advantage of this. It's a free resource. Head on over to www.interviewprepuniversity.com. Again, that's www.interviewprepuniversity.com. Again, so what we're talking about here is becoming successful. And the key point that I want you to keep in mind is you have to be discoverable. You have to become discoverable. So what do I mean when I say that? Again, like I promised you at the very beginning, this is the key, actually. When I say you have to be discoverable, this is the key to improving your odds of being successful and becoming successful by, at the very least, 50%. Let me explain what I mean by this, okay? Do you realize what kind of competitive advantage you have? But just by simply being discoverable. So this is one of those areas that is not really talked about that much, but it plays such a huge part in success, especially as it relates to your career. So in order for you to get a job, let's say that you are the best candidate in the world for what it is I have a need for, right? So let's say I have a need for, I don't know, a cybersecurity, a principal cybersecurity engineer, right? And let's say that you are the world's leading expert when it comes to cybersecurity. Maybe that's not the best example, because if you're the world's leading expert when it comes to cybersecurity, 9 times out of 10, you would be discoverable, okay? But let's say that you are you're a very strong candidate from a cybersecurity perspective. And let's just say that you actually live in the next city to where I'm located. And let's say that you would, if I came across your resume, that I would absolutely fall in love with your background. Okay. Now let's just imagine all those things. Well, the reality is, if I don't know you exist, there's no way in the world that I could actually hire you. You see how that works? If I'm not able to discover you, I cannot hire you. It's such a simple concept. Such a simple concept. It's so important because every single day there are phenomenal candidates that are missing out on job opportunities simply because they are not discoverable. Let me give you an example of what I see that can tend to happen in the marketplace. So a candidate, let's just say that a candidate doesn't like being approached when it comes to like recruiters or, just people in general. Let's say that it's a candidate that loves to have privacy, right? And the interesting thing is they'll actually go on LinkedIn, okay? Which, is baffling to me, okay? Because they're on LinkedIn, and I have no idea why they're on LinkedIn, because they are actually almost in a weird kind of way trying not to get found on LinkedIn. It's a weird thing, okay? But people do it every day. I see it every day. Now, let me tell you what happens. A person, when they set their LinkedIn account up, and I'm just using LinkedIn as an example, okay? But a person will set up a LinkedIn account. They will go out of their way to make sure that they have their privacy settings so that they can't be found, they can't be contacted, and all these different things, right? And then at a certain point in time, that candidate, either by choice or by force, will have to become open to opportunities. Okay. And if it's by choice, it's because maybe they're ready. They're just now ready to make a change in their career. If it's by force, maybe they're at a company where they're getting downsized at this point, and now they got to kind of adapt and make a change, and they're forced to get out into the job market and try to find another job. Well, here's what happens. They've optimized everything so that they cannot be found. So what ends up happening is when they get in that mode of being open to new opportunities never come calling. Why? Because they've set themselves up to not be discoverable. Okay? They hate being contacted so much that they set it up to where they can't even be found. So when they get in the mode for looking for a job, here's what happens. They forget that they set themselves up not to be found. So they end up missing out on opportunities left and right. And here's the other thing that can happen. Let's say that in that scenario that the person becomes open to an opportunity and they don't end up changing their LinkedIn status, and everything is kind of, designed to be kind of misleading. What can actually end up happening is that candidate can then go out and start applying to jobs. And the very first place, where do you think the very first place is that a hiring professional is going to go? As soon as they see a resume that they like, the very next place they're going is LinkedIn. They want to see who this person is, who they're connected with, right? They want to see what their LinkedIn profile is like. I know hiring professionals that do that all the time. As a matter of fact, if someone sends me a resume, that's the very first place that I'm about to go. And if I see that their LinkedIn doesn't reflect what I see on the resume, whether or not that resume is factual or not, I may come to think, okay, I don't know what's going on here. Now, typically as an executive recruiter, because I know that candidates play that kind of game, sometimes depending on how the resume looks, I may look past it and I might explore giving that person a call. But let's say if I was a extremely busy hiring decision maker, the hiring manager, and I'm super busy, I don't have time to try to explore things with people. Okay. If I see confusion, if I see where it looks like I don't know what's going on. I don't have the time to kind of explore this thing with you, right? And so then you could end up missing out on opportunities because you were so focused on not being discoverable. You were so focused on not being discoverable that you ended up putting information out there in the world that ends up actually working against you when you actually are trying to be discoverable. See, I want you to think about discoverability from the perspective of it's something I talk about in my book, Becoming the Ideal Blip, right? And what I mean by that, in my book, I'm talking about the ugly truth about getting hired, which I will talk to you a little bit about later. But in that book, The Ugly Truth About Getting Hired, one of the chapters is dedicated to this topic here, which is how to become the ideal blip. Okay. And what I mean when I say the ideal blip is, think about it like this. You know how like in those old military movies, how you would see them looking at a radar, and then when a blip pops up on that radar, that means that someone is within sight, like they've become discoverable to whatever that radar is, right? Well, the same thing applies when you're trying to get a job, right? When you want to become discoverable, but you don't just want to become discoverable, you want to be the ideal blip. When you become a blip on that hiring decision maker's radar, you want it to be in such a fashion that everything points in the direction of, this is the candidate I've been looking for, right? And so one of the things that I teach, I actually got this from, I actually ended up, kind of getting this from Grant Cardone, which is, he says, you have to overcome obscurity, right? And one of the things I always tell people is there are three different levels to obscurity. Level number one is they don't know you exist. If I don't know you exist, there's literally no way that I can hire you. Level number two, they don't know your value. If I know you exist, but I can't clearly see your value, I'm probably not going to hire you, right? So I have to discover your value, right? I have to discover you, then I have to discover your value, right? And then level number three is staying on the top level of someone's mind, right? Being top of mind. We're in a world of distractions, so I have to constantly be like thinking about you, right? I have to discover you over and over again, essentially, right? Like there has to be something compelling about you that makes me want to think about you and makes me want to engage with you and makes me want to keep you on the top level of my mind, right? But those are the three levels, right, that you have to be discoverable at. And so again, the point I'm trying to make out of today's episode is essentially, I want you to understand how important it is that you focus on being discoverable. Okay. Even when you don't want to be contacted by sales professionals or recruiters or whatever, right? You got to learn how to either say no to these people if you're not interested, or something. Like you got to find a different way of handling that situation, because again, it comes back to bite you in your ass if you focus a lot on not being discoverable, and then all of a sudden you want to be discoverable, but you forgot that you set everything up so that you're not discoverable. You understand? So keep that in mind. If you want to be successful, if you want to improve your odds by at least 50% when it comes to being successful, the very first thing you have to focus on is becoming discoverable. You have to be discoverable. You have to be positioned so that I can actually find you. Okay. When I need what it is you have to offer, I need to be able to actually find you so that I can then engage with you. All right. Listen, hopefully you got great value out of today's episode. If you haven't done so already, I want you to pick up a copy of my book, The Ugly Truth About Getting Hired, How to Land the Job of Your Dreams Regardless of the Competition. The single greatest challenge you're going to face in your career is competition. Right now, as we speak, Competition is absolutely fierce. And over the next 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30 years from now, it's going to become absolutely insane from a competition perspective because of the technological advancements that are being made as we speak. So if you want to be able to have a competitive advantage, pick up a copy of this book. Go head on over to www.theuglytruthbook.com. Again, that's www.theuglytruthbook.com. I'll see you in the next episode. Yeah. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share it with as many people as possible. Take care.